I remember I was 19 years old and I was at a conference. I was a college journalist. I went to this conference in West Hollywood in Los Angeles. And the speaker was this guy, Dr. Drew, the host of Loveline. He's had shows on CNN and MTV. And I'd grown up listening to his show, and I always thought he was really smart and really interesting. And I went up to him after and I said, hey, are there any books you're reading that you would recommend? And he recommended Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher. And I went back to my hotel room and I bought Epictetus and I bought Marcus Aurelius because I'd heard of Marcus Aurelius from the movie Gladiator, right? That's the guy that Joaquin Phoenix's character kills. And so I bought these books. I had to buy some extra books to get free shipping because Amazon Prime didn't exist. And a couple days later, Marcus Aurelius showed up, and this book, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was just everything that I wanted. It was what the philosophers call a guide to the good life. And what Stoicism did was it gave me a framework for living. There's four virtues in Stoicism, right? Justice, courage, wisdom, and moderation. And just to see those ideas explained on all these pages, to hear someone talk about how you got to distinguish between what's up to you and what's not up to you, and that to get upset about things that are not up to you is such a colossal waste of time. To hear him talk about how, look, we're all mortal beings. We could go at any moment, memento mori, and that you've got to live for right now. You've got to be present. You can't delay things for the future. You've got to stop wasting time. Again, this just hit me like a pile of bricks. To hear him say, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. To hear a wise person, a person who is the emperor of Rome, talk about how what really mattered is just doing the right thing. The way he talks about how fame doesn't matter, how being rich doesn't matter, but the kind of person that you are does matter, but it only matters right now while you're alive. And so I went down this rabbit hole of Stoicism. I read Epictetus next, then I read Seneca. I've just read all these great wise people who were talking 2,000 years ago about the same problems that we have now. And ultimately, this changed the entire course of my life. It became the philosophy that I dedicate myself to. It becomes the thing that I read constantly. It becomes what I write about. And I've been lucky enough now to pay that forward. I've introduced millions of people to Stoicism. But ultimately, it's a practice. It's a set of principles that I return to over and over again. In Meditations, Marcus talks about how we can't step in the same river twice because the river is changing and we're changing. And what I think is so beautiful about Stoicism is that as you go through life, you change and then you understand what the philosophers were saying in a different way. So the Stoicism that I read when I was 19 is just fundamentally different than what I read now in my 30s and what I'm going to read in my 60s if I'm lucky enough to get there. And so Stoicism was, for me, a kind of a religion, a guiding force, a set of principles by which I live my life. And ultimately now how I make my livelihood. And it all stems from asking that one chance question. So if you're thinking about picking up the philosophy, if you're thinking about reading about the Stoics, if you've heard, sports teams are using it, or you've heard it mentioned in a media story, I cannot recommend enough that you just crack one of the books. Pick up Seneca or Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, or pick up the Daily Stoic, or just get our Daily Stoic email. But just start reading and let it take you where it's going to take you. And I think you'll be better for it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe below for more content from Daily Stoic.